Anybody else like to speak out there that have not spoke yet?
Give them a chance to rebut, maybe.
John?
I just want to go back to page 1. We are talking about not the ability of the Perch to sell beer and wine to go in a closed container. We're only talking about should they be allowed to serve beer and wine on premise.
John, what we're talking, the only thing that the council is determining whether we're going to do a letter of waiver to the state. That's all we're doing.
That's right, and that's the only thing that we're addressing that letter.
Right, we're not making a decision whether they can sell anything. It's just whether we will go against what an ordinance says to give a letter of waiver. That's all we're doing here.
Yeah, and we can do that if we choose or not if we choose.
That's correct.
Okay.
Wayne?
Well, Walter took a lot of the fire I was going to talk about. You know, I went to the University of Idaho in late 60s, early 70s, and drinking was a problem then. It continues to be a problem. The city is working really hard at establishing a relationship with the University of Idaho, a partnership, if you will, towards a lot of areas, whether it's economic development, whether it's increase in student body enrollment, or whether it's alcohol-related problems. I, too, believe that a bar that serves on premises is not appropriate in the core of the University of Idaho or on the campus. I am particularly disappointed in the fact that apparently it has been happening with not very good results and without having come to the city asking for any kind of a waiver towards the Idaho State Code. Now, that being said, it's unfortunate that the new owner is bearing to the reputation of the previous owners and the way that they ran it. But I, too, am extremely hesitant to allow this to continue on, and so I'm not going to vote to offer a waiver.
Art, you act like you had something you'd like to say?
Well, kind of hovering on the fence. I'm not entirely opposed to the ability to sell a glass of beer with a sandwich at a restaurant. However, I think the timing may be a little off for this. I would like to have seen it establish itself as a restaurant first, establish itself as a source of food, and then perhaps approach the issue of beer or wine by the drink. So at the moment, I'm leaning towards if there can be established the fact that this is a legitimate restaurant making most of its money from the sale of food, then I would be willing to rethink the issue of beer or wine by the drink there at the premises. But as is, I think it's premature to go the whole way right out the gate.
Tom?
I just want to follow up on what Art just said, that I don't believe that they have to demonstrate a majority of sales derived from restaurant food, but just 40% from restaurant food, right? So, I mean, I think I would feel fine if there was some demonstration that they were actually a restaurant with, you know, a beer or wine or something along with it. But I'm not suggesting that we should say, go ahead and allow them to be a bar.
Dan?
I got a procedural question for the staff then, I guess. It sounds like up here that we're not necessarily in favor of this waiver letter. So if we take no action, then we don't have to, then it's passed. We would make a motion to make a waiver letter. There's no sense in making a motion to not do it. So we could just close the issue and move along if that's the case, or should we make an official, we're not going to do this?
In my recommendation that you make it official, that then that declination by the council can then be forwarded to the folks who do issue the license, the alcohol beverage control folks.
Then I guess I would make a motion that we do not prepare a waiver letter for ABC.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Dan to not approve a letter or waiver. to ABC, and a second by Walter. Is there further discussion? John?
I too have gone to university, and matter of fact, I sold a lot of product to the university, both as a Wonder Bread salesman back in the early 80s, and then after that with Budweiser and Coors. And I helped install the draft system that the previous owner had, so he could sell beer by the glass, by the pitcher. I don't have the problem with it that Wayne and Walter have. I do have some of the same worries that Art talked about. And so I would prefer to, if they're serious about opening a restaurant, open the restaurant. And then after 6 months or whatever a reasonable amount of time is, and if they have at that point proven that they can operate a profitable restaurant without having on-premise sales of beer and wine, then they can come before this body again and ask the same question. So I'm going to vote not to send a letter.
Other discussion before we take a roll? Okay, I'll restate the motion. The motion was to not send a letter to ABC. Recommended this, so not to send a waiver. Everybody understand that? We'll start with Art.
Aye.
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 Okay, 6-0, we will not send a letter. You want to document that over there, please?